throughout my years of pushing, I've learned that resiliency is more than just pushing. You have to also reflect when you get into a position where something happened, like getting fired from a job, like your investments are not going the way you wanted, like your business is about to go bankrupt, all those kind of things. It's more than just pushing. It's also, to me, it's also a time to stop, time to reflect, and what is next? Do I need to keep on pushing or do I need to pivot?
Hola, hola. I'm Julian Cruz Diaz, your Puerto Rican host, and this is Una Preguntita. Each week, you and I take one big question and break it down to grow in this real and messy life we live in. From engineering to farming in Hawaii to running my own business, I have learned that life does not come with a manual, pero sí con preguntas, with questions. So, tell me, amigui, have you ever felt like you're thriving in one area of your life but lost in another? Yeah, been there too. Each week, you and I dive into the stuff nobody really teaches us, how to lead, connect, and communicate better, y con tools that you can actually use. Grab tu cafecito, get comfy, and let's figure this out together. Esto es Una Preguntita, where curiosity and understanding lead to action. Vamos! Okay, Ami. I am so excited for this episode because I have on a special guest.
Howdy!
Hello, Tío Elmer.
Hello, how are you?
Bienvenido a Una Preguntita.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I am so glad you're here because today vamos a hablar de resiliency. Yes. So, as young professionals are coming into the workforce, right? Estoy hablando de gente between 20 or so, right?
You mean not like me?
No. not people.
Quite.
Not people over the hill.
There we go. There we go.
So, when the term resiliency comes in, for some reason in my head, I sometimes think of this term as like a boomer thing. Okay? Don't get offended yet, boomer. Don't get offended here.
I'll get there.
But I feel like this new generation coming into the workforce sometimes cringes or feels like, ugh, whenever the word resiliency comes in. Almost like resiliency is seen as like a forceful push. Like, dale, tú puedes, sigue, don't ever stop, keep going. And so, as we bring in this term, this topic, I'm going to hit you with the question, right? Off the bat, we always get started con una preguntita. What does resiliency mean to you?
To me, is a bit different, but I agree with your definition because my generation was brought up that way. Mm-hmm. You just got to push. If something goes wrong, you just got to keep on pushing. But throughout my years of pushing, I've learned that resiliency is more than just pushing. You have to also reflect when you get into a position where something happened, like getting fired from a job, like your investments are not going the way you wanted, like your business is about to go bankrupt, all those kind of things. Bring resiliency in, or you have to become resilient to get ahead, or grow or pivot. So it's more than just pushing. It's also, to me, it's also a time to stop, time to reflect, and what is next? Do I need to keep on pushing or do I need to pivot?
So, Mama, let me make sure I understand it. So, para ti, resiliency means really pausing. To figure out what to do next. And so it's not necessarily, for you, it's not necessarily...
Keep on pushing. No. Because I've learned early on, well, very quick background. I've studied engineering. I got out, started working as an engineer for an electrical distributor, Warren Electric, down in Houston. And that was part of the modus operandi. Things are not going well, you just keep on pushing. You just keep on pushing. And then you get to a point where you realize, wait a minute, it's not a matter of pushing here. Then I turned from engineering into entrepreneurship, where me and my brother, we started working on real estate investing. And that's when we were facing the same issues as far as, or not same issues, but the things that entrepreneurs face, inconsistency in the income, things are not going the way that you want them, your employees are not working as you told them, et cetera, et cetera. It's a 150 million thing. And that's when I started learning, like, wait a minute, it's not about pushing. You just got to stop, reflect. And I'll give you an example. You always come to my mind. Back in the days, I'm going to say it was probably 94 or something like that, we had a bunch of apartment complexes. In one of the new the apartment complex was not new, but to us was a new investment. We bought it and we had to do a lot of maintenance in it. And we had something that's called a water shield system that basically has compressors that work for the entire apartment complex. It's not different unit of air conditioning for each apartment. It's just one big ass apartment AC for the entire apartment complex. So if the thing goes down, the whole complex is without air conditioning. So you can imagine, right? So I got this maintenance guy who's been working with me for years, and all of a sudden he's working on it, turning it from heat to AC, and the damn thing, the compressor breaks down. Oh my God. So we got to take, no one has air conditioning, and there was we needed to repair that thing, because that thing was close to, I believe it was about $20,000 or something like that, or even more. And so we had to take it out, rebuild it, and bring it back in. We did that, and the very next day, because it was a rush thing, very next day it comes back in, we install it, and he breaks down again. And all of a sudden, I had to stop. What the hell? This is not normal. There's something wrong with something here. So I went down to the place where he has the unit, and I started asking my maintenance guy, "But what's going on?" I turned the valves and the switches the way that it says, and all of a sudden I asked him. I said, "What does it say on number 2?" And then he started looking at it, and he couldn't read. That's when I realized the problem is not the air conditioning, it's not the compressor, it's that my maintenance guy, he knows how to read at a 5-year-old or 8, I don't know. I don't know what level.
Preliminary first grade level.
Exactly, first grade level. In this mechanical thing is a little bit more complex.
It's technical language.
He doesn't understand it. He can't read it. And that's when I oh my God, the problem is not the unit, it's that my maintenance guy doesn't know how to switch and turn the lower, because he doesn't know how to read technical. So that's what I mean by, you just got to pause, reflect, and start thinking about, there's got to be something else that needs to be taken care of. But go ahead.
What I'm realizing is that your base, right, your pause, your strategy, right, to figure out how do you move forward, comes from a base of you have to move forward. You have no other choice.
Correct.
And so it's interesting that your definition of resiliency is tomar una pausa, take a pause, really think in order to make an educated decision on your next steps. But that comes from the understanding that you have to move forward.
Yeah, definitely. You have to move forward. Life keeps on moving.
So if we take a step back, how do you teach that? Life keeps moving forward. Because a lot of times let me give an example, right? So let's pretend you had your first job. You got an apartment, you have a year-long lease for your first apartment, and you get laid off 6 months in. The whole world feels like it's falling down on your shoulders because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm mid-month. How am I going to pay rent? How am I going to get my groceries? You just started off. You don't really have your emergency fund ready. And you feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And in that, you need that push of like, life is not going to stop. It's going to keep going. You have no other choice. How do you teach that? Because I feel like your generation, it was ingrained. You got to figure it out. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you got to figure it out.
Correct.
And with younger generations, we take much more time to feel, to have emotions, to process. And sometimes it feels like, I can't keep going forward. How do I do that? So how do you teach that? How do you teach that life is going to continue?
The only way that I can, this is funny because in my particular case, that's exactly how I taught my kids. You got to push forward. When they came back to me with a problem or a situation, I sat down with them and says, what are you going to do? I don't know. The world is coming to an end. No, the world's not coming to an end. You got to make a decision. So what is your decision going to be? And the thing is that I got to let them fail if they fail because they got to learn how to live with their decisions. But I always told them, we're here to support you no matter whether it was a good decision or a bad decision.
Right.
And I think that is probably into this generation's is part of what the parents or mentors have to say is that, okay, you're going to make decisions, though some of those decisions are not going to be pleasant, but we're here to support you. We're here to help you. We're here not to pamper you and fix the problem for you, but here to support you in terms of, okay, so what's going to be your next step? And then, okay, if I can help you finding in my network somebody else to talk to, or if you need, a small loan for, paid for the groceries or something like that while you're finding your job. You follow me? That's what I mean by it.
Yeah. So I see you're coming in from like a mentor point of view,
Correct.
right? Or a parent point of view or a family member point of view. But as an individual coming into the world, right? As an individual starting their profession, how do they themselves hone in on their own resiliency?
I'm a very big believer in mentors. You have to, even if you're starting, I don't think that anybody should start on their own without starting a network. And you probably know that that's one of the things that I always talked about. You gotta start, even if you're in college or something like that, you gotta start working on your network. And by network, I mean all those individuals, especially those who are ahead of you, that can give you advice of what's going to happen down the road. You need that kind of support. You need those kind of mentors in your life from the very get-go. So because if you try to do things, I mean, you could do things on your own. I'm not saying that, but I'm a firm believer of learning from others, and I'm a firm believer of learning from books and information and relying on your network.
Give me an example. Because it's all very easy to be like, you have to do A, B, and C. Pero dame un ejemplo. How has that network played out or your mentorship played out in your own life?
Let's say that you want to move or want to visit a country, a particular country. You have no idea. You don't know. Here's one thing that I did, which is kind of fun, and it will help you understand or lay out the concept. When I went to Spain not too long ago, I was supposed to go to Thailand, and then at the very last minute, I remember I was saying, well, I want to go somewhere. Let's pick up the glove. Oh, well, let's go to Madrid. It's cheap to go over there. But I don't know anybody. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what. The very first thing you got to do is just who in your network are people that you have talked to. So I immediately call a couple of people in my network. Hey, have you gone to Europe? Have you gone to Spain? What are the things that to expect when you get there? And then one of them told me about something that's called the Nomad list. In that particular website, when I went in, it's purely networking among people who are living over there. So they gave me everything imaginable. They told me step by step by one. It was not one person. It was many people on that chat were giving me advice. It was like 15 of them. And I got everything from where to stay, what to avoid, how to do transportation, what to look for, the traps, and I got stories about
it
the
gave
traps. but that's another story. But you get, I got everything. So that is what I mean by network. So the same thing if you're gonna go to a Mount Everest, you gotta find out from somebody that already been there. Learn as much as you can from people that have written about it. There's many articles. YouTube is fantastic for those things nowadays, meaning that you can find just about anything. Get as much information as you can about the decision that you're about to make, and then have a mentor or somebody that has already been there, and then you tell them, you share with them what your plans are and get feedback.
So how do you get over that hump, right? So let's pretend you're from Texas, you have only gone to Houston, and you live in Dallas, right? So you only know 2 places in Texas. And you want to go to Spain, right? We're going to use that same example. And so you start getting mentors, you start getting information,
Okay, well, stop for a second, because there's something very interesting in there, and this is very individualistic. When I was teaching real estate, this is one of very specific things that I told them. A lot of people don't have they have the freedom, but they don't know how to use their freedom to start traveling, making choices and stuff like that. So in that particular case, rather than tell him, hey, go to Madrid across the world and do all that, that's scary as hell, okay? How about, why don't you go to Waco for a weekend? Why don't you go to Oklahoma for a weekend, 2 or 3 days? So you got to start with small steps. So when you have something that you want to achieve as big as that, you got to break that. I'm very big into what I call playbooks. In the playbook is, okay, I got this goal, I want to get there, but you got to chunk that down to start getting familiarized with certain concepts and getting familiarized with stacking your experiences to a point where you can manage that big of a goal.
Like compounding, right? So
correct.
You realize, I'm competent enough to go to Waco, so let's try a little farther, let's go to Oklahoma.
Correct.
And so then you rely on your competency, your ability to do the action.
Exactly, like renting a car, getting a hotel, Airbnb, and then get the experience. Because those are the same experiences, kind of, sort of, the same experiences you're going to get there. So you start gathering some of those experiences, so now you're not as fearful to make walk some of those steps.
Right. And that's interesting because that's the conversation we had 2 weeks ago with Memo. Memo was recently on the podcast, and so we were talking about internal belief, like believing in yourself. And we were debating which one comes first. Is it courage that comes first, or is it actually your competency that allows you to have courage to keep going?
And true, but before that, what tends to happen is that fear sets in,
and that's where I was getting at. So I realized.
So let me tell you what my explanation, which is not mine, by the way. I think it was Zig Ziglar that came up with that. Fear is false expectation appearing real.
Wait, say that one more time.
Fear is the letters for false expectations. You're expecting something
that's not true.
That is not true. That appears real.
That you think
and the
real.
Only way you can overcome that fear, and me and my daughter talk about this all the time, is that you have to face that fear. So how are you going to face that fear? You go one step at a time. And then when you do 2 or 3 steps, you're going to realize that the fear, you start making that fear little. Oh, I'm not that fearful now. So that's kind of like the way I approach it. Because it's from the fear. Everything is, it's not even courage. It's getting rid of or not, reduce the fear. Because you're always going to have fear for everything.
Always.
Especially things that you have never done before. But it's how do I minimize or reduce that fear? And again, false expectations that appear real. When you read that, you go like, okay, so that means that what I'm about to experience might not be what is in my head. So let me do a small step. Let me rent a car. Let me stay in a hotel, or let me stay in a hotel. If I've never been in a hotel, let me stay in a hotel next door to me, so that way I know how the whole thing works out. You know what I'm saying? So it's just taking small steps to get you to the bigger goal that you wanted to achieve. There's people that are confident maybe or overconfident, and they will go straight to Spain, and then they're gonna make 150 million mistakes along the way, and they will push through. See, here's where that resiliency comes in.
Yes, let's get back to that. So I know you have a story where somebody took your backpack that had your passport.
That's called stupidity, but let's go ahead over it.
What else did it have inside?
Oh, everything. I got everything in there. Here's the one of the very first thing that they said. There's a place called La Gran Via in Spain, which is where all the tourists are and where all the hecklers are, where all the people that are gonna get pickpocket will get pickpocket. And I was told about it. Hang on to your things. In even one of them told me to split money. Don't walk money, don't go out on a public venue with your passport if you don't need it. Keep it at the hotel or what have you. The thing is that I was told, but that particular weekend I decided to stay down there in that area, and sometimes I think that I just wanted to experience the damn thing unconsciously. I put everything in my freaking backpack because I'm thinking I got the backpack with me, so nothing is going to happen. It's here. So I got my money, I got my passport, I got my keys, I got everything. Credit cards, everything on the backpack.
And then to give you a little background on how Tío Elmer travels, he travels very minimalistically. So when he says he has everything in the backpack, that means everything he possibly owns essentially is in that backpack, in one little backpack.
And computer, everything is in there. Everything. So I'm sitting down at a cerveceria, and the lady who takes the order is like 20 feet away. I was just waving at her. My backpack is right here next to me. The first beer comes in, pay, I drink it. When I order the second one and I wave at her, she either didn't look at me or so I had to get up, go to her, 3-4 steps, okay? Or maybe 5 steps. And as soon as I place the order, I'm thinking, well, the backpack is right there on my table. I'm 5 steps away. Nothing's going to happen. And as soon as I turn around, I see the guy running with my backpack. So he was watching me
the whole time.
Probably the whole time. And that's where I wasn't aware of. And I started running right behind him. But, he was probably 20-something and I am 60-some. So, woo, that was painful. But I wasn't even thinking. It was just like, hustling, going down the road. And he took everything. And it didn't dawn on me until the police came. I did the report and the whole thing. Oh, shit. I don't have everything with me. I only have an euro 125. and it was not even enough to pay for the bus to get to my hotel. Oh, it wasn't a hotel. It was an Airbnb. So I had the keys inside the backpack, so I couldn't even open the door of my Airbnb. So I had to stay with the neighbor, talking about networking. As soon as I got in, I started learning who the neighbors were on that Airbnb. So I stayed that night in my neighbor's couch, not even in my Airbnb, because my Airbnb host didn't pick up the phone. It doesn't matter. And then the next day when I call him and I tell him, I say, oh, yeah, I'm going to be there by 5 o'clock that afternoon. Like, sheesh. And then I go to the I got to go to the embassy, ask for, okay, you're going to ask for a passport, for a temporary passport. Yeah, but it's $140 or $150. I only got now. I don't even have a.
125.
No. I needed €5 for the photo. I don't even have for the photo that the guy. To make a long story short, everything that you don't want to go through when you are in a different country. This is my first time in an embassy. They're great people. A lot of people don't understand how much work these people do, but it was great. And losing all my money, losing all my credit cards in a completely different country, it was quite an experience. But guess what? That shit ain't happened to me again. Or even if I get robbed or whatever, I know exactly what the steps are going to be, because I know exactly. Now I know that not only I walk away with my money, but also back at home I have to have a what I call a fail safe, that I got to make a phone call somebody back at home that can wire me or Western Union or something, some money, so I can go to the embassy. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So out of that experience I came up with the playbook, with the plan, that what to do. Actually, that's a very good article that I can write about. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a great article. What to do when shit hit the fan and everything goes wrong.
So, okay, you have all of these different stories, right? Of traveling, of personal business experiences. What has kept you moving forward?
Resilience. Let's start with. Well, I think it's goals. Okay. Let me go back. Mm-hmm. I started as an entrepreneur when I was in high school. So my goal was not to have the biggest. I used to have a skate shop and a surf shop. At that age, 14, 15, 16 years old, I'm not thinking about bigger goals. My goal is to go and hang out with my friends, and because of my situation back then, the only way that I was able to afford skateboard gear and stuff like that is by arbitrage, by buying it low and selling it high.
Okay.
So that's how the store started. That's how my entrepreneurial build started, right? But as I went to college, then I started learning about goals. I started learning about motivation. I started learning about, self-development and things like that. So there was the switch when I was thinking about having bigger goals. Goals of eventually having my own company, goals of eventually being on my own, and have no freaking idea how to do any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But along the way, I was able to, like I said, stop, reflect, mm-hmm. and pivot or push forward. So those are the two things. Stop. I mean, it's more than two things, but stop, reflect, pivot, mm-hmm. which means don't go that way, go the other way, or push forward where you're going.
That's so funny. So in my workshops, I teach growth mindset, which is exactly what you just said, right? So growth mindset is that you experience something, you take a pause, you consider what just happened, and then you go back into the doing stage. And so in order to move forward well,
correct.
You have to pause. You need that second step, because if not, you're just going to continue the same thing over and over and over
and expecting a different result, which is not going to happen.
Right.
That's the definition of insanity, by the way. Mm-hmm. Doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Right. What are you proud of yourself for?
I'm really proud of myself. It's funny because among my family, they think that I'm too proud of myself.
I can attest.
There you go. I'm too loud. I'm too sabelo todo. What?
Loudness is on par with everybody else.
Okay, but and I tell you where that came from. It was not that it was on the opposite. My dad and my mom, they're like the antithesis of being proud of yourself.
Background, amigui. So abuelo and abuela, right? Tío Elmer is my uncle. So his parents are the silent generation. And so you kept your head down, you stayed quiet, you did what you were told. It was just a different generation, and that's what was expected. And so Tío Elmer comes in, boomer generation, and is quite the opposite. Very, very rebellious in those standards.
Yeah, absolutely. And within that, as I went through, one of the things that I've always did since I was, a young guy, I did journaling. So I journal. I mean, I'm generally different now than I did before. I'm more specific now. But back then, it was all my experiences. I journal all my experiences. So one of the things that I did, especially when I was in college, is I started looking back at my experiences. So while I was looking back at my experiences, I was proud of myself. I come from the island of Puerto Rico. So for a young kid, 16-year-old, he just barely, by the way, I didn't have a car. And I went with my friends around the entire island, on weekends and things like that for surfing, skateboarding, and all that kind of stuff. So I feel proud that in most instances, my parents didn't even know what I was doing because I knew that.
What a difference. So I track my parents. I know exactly where they are at every single second of the day if I wanted to know, right? And abuelo and abuela didn't even know where you were.
Didn't even know where I was. Or they maybe thought that I was down the street and I was on the other side of the island surfing or something.
A couple hours away.
Yeah. So that by looking back at those things, I started feeling proud of myself. So and even if I made a mistake or something went wrong, I still felt proud of myself because I went through it thinking that it was going to go this way or that way, and I've learned. Mm-hmm. So I don't even consider failures. I consider learning experiences. Mm-hmm. So every time you hear me talk about a learning experience, that's a failure.
In somebody else's book.
In somebody else's book. But to me, it's a learning experience. And I feel proud because I went through that and learned either that's the way it's done or that's not the way it's done. Mm-hmm. And then you got to pivot or move forward.
Mm-hmm. All right, amigui. We have made it to the Curiosity Hour. On the pod, usually this is a time when my family asks me, Julián, ¿qué aprendiste? What'd you learn? And today, since Tío Elmer is my guest, I'm flipping it on you, Tío.
All right.
I'm not going to ask you what you learned this week because I know you. And
you learned your lesson the last time, right? It was 2 hours after.
So,
but I got a good story. Of something that I learned. And I tell you, so just to give you a quick background, I read a book, excellent book, called Vagabonding by Rolf Potts. Anybody that wants to travel and slow travel around the world, that's the Bible. That's one of the books that you should get a hold of and read.
So I'm going to go ahead and put that book in the show notes so you're easy to just click on the link and you'll get it right then and there.
Okay. So I call myself a vagabond based on that concept.
Can you give a little definition?
A vagabond is somebody that wanders, that goes, that looks, doesn't have boundaries in the sense of travel. He's free to travel, and I just look at where I haven't been and I go there, and then I experience the culture. I experience the day by day. I slow travel, which means that I stay more than usually 3 weeks in one place, 3 weeks, a month, or even 3-4 months or whatever. Usually no more than 3 months, but that's part of the slow travel. So the thing with vagabonding and being a vagabond is one of those aspects that for a lot of people think that is unattainable, but in today's day is very attainable, especially if you become what is called a digital nomad. A digital nomad is somebody that can work as a freelancer or as an entrepreneur through the computer, using the computer as a mode. Or you can remote work, which means being an employee of a particular company and then work from anywhere, home. Usually people work from home. So one of the things that I learned this week was that 40% of the, you know, that after the pandemic or during the pandemic, a lot of people started to work from home. So they learn about remote work and working from home. So what I was reading this week is that shit ain't going away. 40% of the working force and on today's working force wants to have the flexibility of working either from home or work or in a hybrid mode where they work 3 days out of the office and 2 days from home, and they're not budging. They're not budging. So to me, that is a great tool, especially if you work with freelancers or people who work online, because that gives you the opportunity to become a vagabond, to wander the world, especially if you like traveling, and it's not as expensive. So I've learned that about 40% of the U.S. employees have some sort of hybrid
employment.
Remote.
Wow. That's crazy how everything has shifted. Everybody's expectations of the workforce, of their managers, of what they want from life has really shifted after the pandemic. I feel like it feels like it was a while ago, like it was just a blip, but the impact that it's had, not only on the economy, we feel that part, but also on our mindsets has really shifted a lot. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on today, Tío Elmer.
Thank you for having me.
Bueno, amigui, that's the show. Si te gustó el podcast, if you liked the episode, make sure to share it, rate it. I'm going to say it again, to share it, rate it, or write a review. ¿Qué aprendiste? Tell me what you took away from today. Como siempre, I'm your amiga Zulian, and I'm sending you off today con un huge abrazo, amigui. Nos vemos en la próxima.